So I've been working on interval training. I've been traveling the last couple of weeks for work and et cetera. So I pretty much am stuck with my tablet, and intervals about is the only thing I can work on right now. And I noticed I'm having difficulty with differentiating sometimes between the perfect fifth and the next octave up. And I was wondering if you could maybe give me some pointers. Because going back to the videos with Brandon, can you hear this? Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So, like the perfect fifth, he said, think of Star Wars the way it opens up, like, and then the octave, I guess, is the Seven Dwarfs High Ho, the beginning
Mhm.
of that song. So I try to apply that, but I'm still making mistakes. I'm probably about 70%, 60, 70% accuracy when I try to use that online quiz that he provided in the module. And so I'm just wondering if you have any pointers, or if anyone else has any advice on how to improve.
Well, when you're doing interval ear training like that, um, the hard thing is that it's different. It's different for everybody how they choose to remember that stuff. Um, so like, because it's funny. I had this list of songs that I put together when I was in university, and that was part of a musicianship course that we were doing. And watching Brandon's videos, he says he uses Star Wars for the fifth. Uh,
Right.
I always use Star Wars for the fourth, um, and that's how I would remember it: is use the fourth, because I would think of it as the note leading up to it instead of like Brandon thinks ba 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 da 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 like that first part. But I think of the ba 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 the very first one da 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 da. So I always remembered that that's a fourth. So it's like you get similarities with people
Right.
are kind of thinking the same thing, but it all depends on what the first melody is that comes to mind for you, and the ones that you can recall just immediately without having to concentrate.
Yeah.
Um,
So I guess, I mean, no, that does help. And I've been using that, just trying to relate it to a song or something, but just tonally, it just sounds the same. Sometimes it sounds like I said, even like when it's like a few octaves up or a few octaves down, because I know it throws that tool, that utility throws some lower notes in and some higher notes in. Um, Sometimes they just sound the same. I mean, so when I hear the root and I hear the next octave up or something, I'm thinking, oh, that's the fifth. And, so I'm just wondering
hmm,
if over time, will that improve? I mean, I've only been doing this for about 2 weeks, and I'm from the start, I'm about 70% accuracy on, between like the second, minor second, major second, third, major third, octave, fifth, etc. But I'm just
mhm.
wondering, just given others in the course who are online and yourself, did it over the matter of, like, let's say months, or was it over the course of a year? Like how did you, how, I guess I'm not asking the question. I'm just, when did you start to see improvements?
Yeah. Well, in that series of musicianship courses that
Yeah.
I was talking about, that I think those courses went. I think there were four of them that went over 2 years during university, and there were still people struggling towards the end. I was struggling with a lot of things, and but your training with intervals was something that we always checked in on. Like that was a recurring thing because it's not something that you should just have in one little compartment of your life. It should always be kind of present. So it's always a good thing to train.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so for a lot of people, it took several years. Like you can know this stuff and you can have methods of figuring it out.
Right.
Uh, but it, it does take quite a bit of time before you can just ba ba, that that's a major sixth or something like that. Um, what I always recommend to people is getting an app that you can just like an app on your phone that you can just drill yourself on those as much as possible throughout every day. Um, really, I think the more you break it up throughout your daily schedule, and it's great if you're traveling too, because you can practice that wherever you are. Um, then yeah, if you can pepper it in throughout your day, then becomes something that's always present in the back of your mind. I find that if you sit down and you have a structure of, okay, I'm going to work on my ear training in this environment at this time of day, every once in a while, like if you have too much structure to it, then this is how I find. Then I have to be in that zone to be able to properly. I have to be in that same headspace as when I sit down and focus on it. So I find if I spread it out throughout the day, do it at different times every day in different environments, then it becomes like a second language. It kind of, my brain is always open to that. Yeah. So I always recommend ear training apps and not just guessing the right answer because it is a lot of knowledge and theory that you have to have. But more than anything, it's the ear. So if you can try singing along with those intervals, then I think you'll notice that there's a big difference between singing a fifth, ba ba, and singing an octave, ba 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 ba. Because an octave, you really feel the jump. You feel that extra, strain of going that extra distance when you're singing it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So do you practice singing them?
I'm a terrible singer. I do not have a singing voice, but I do. And last night when I was doing the exercises, I thought, oh, that's an octave, but here it was a fifth. But in my head, it just sounded, I guess that's my big hang up right now. And so I try to sing them out or as best as I can. I use my keyboard. I have
Mhm.
this, you know, keyboard I mentioned when we had our meeting a couple weeks ago. I mentioned that, but so I use that to validate sometimes. Or if I miss it, I'm like I play it out and try to find the right notes that the utility was was playing. So in that regard, I'm trying to learn from my mistake, but still, but again, I've only been doing this for 2 weeks. I don't expect results overnight, but I'm just wondering, as I continue with this, now that I have this module underway, I'm going to try to incorporate this from here until, forever. Like you said, it's a
Mhm.
lifelong thing. But yeah, I'm just wondering if, some pointers to kind of help me along the way so I
Yeah,
can
well, if you can sing power chords or even just practice uh just getting used to what a power chord sounds like because I think guitar players when they practice chords and especially power chords because those have that energy to them. They practice power chords like, okay, that sounds cool. That sounds heavy. Yeah, that sounds cool too. But they don't actually get used to the role that each of those notes has. Um, so and again, you could relate this to a song because there are three notes here. Ba, ba, ba. So first thing that comes to my mind that I can think of right now would be like the Space Odyssey.
yeah.
Also Zach Zarathustra, or however you pronounce that. Ba 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 bum 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 bum. Because that's a song that uses those notes to me, and there are going to be tons of them. It's a perfect fifth and an octave. Those are not um, really obscure intervals. Lots of songs are going to use that. So you just need to look for songs that use that. And again, if you can practice singing with it, it is going to be hard. I don't think anyone's really a gifted singer before they practice singing. I was terrible at it. Um, some of the worst singers that I've ever heard are people who think that they're naturally gifted, and the only ones who actually do the job properly are the ones who start out knowing their limitations like you and then working on it and getting better and better at it because it is an instrument. It does take practice, but it definitely helps a lot. And if all else fails with a with an interval, you could try counting through a scale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay.
1, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 5. So yeah, even just practicing singing your scales would probably help you out there.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and as well, because as guitar players, we also it would behoove us to know what these intervals are in two-dimensional space. So, X and Y, however you want to visualize it. Guitar is a very visual instrument. So if you can uh, learn where your octaves are and where your fifths are, then that can really help out. It all depends on like what area you're looking to improve. If it's the comprehension of it, or the understanding of it, or the fingers knowing where to go. It's yeah. So practice singing them, and yeah, if you don't have a note app already that you can use to just drill those ideas and do the ear training throughout the day, I would highly recommend getting that.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, and on that note, if you're looking to read music as well, there are some great note reading apps that are out there. I think if you know how to read notation, it tends to, in my opinion, it tends to make understanding intervals easier. Because when you're looking at a tab, you have to know exactly all the nuances of how the guitar works to know how far apart those intervals are. So tab is a lot more um, simple to know where to put your fingers, but much more complicated to know what the sound is going to be. So you might find it helpful to learn some notation on guitar if that's a new concept to you. It's always a good thing to learn, but that's just kind of like a bonus thing that might help. Yeah,
Okay.
most important thing would be singing, I think,
Yeah.
and yeah, come up with a song list um that's easy to conjure up in your head.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool. All right. Thanks.
yeah, no problem.